All right, and we are live. All right, thank you for watching and tuning into the Love of Business podcast. I'm your co-host, Davin Sundvik, and we're joined by Edgar Rodriguez, my other co-host, as well as our guest today, our featured guest, which is going to be Dawn Elizabeth Stone. And so, we're just going to take a quick minute here. We're each going to introduce ourselves. So my name's Davin Sundvik, obviously your co-host, but also a real estate entrepreneur. I coach agents how to be more successful in the real estate industry. And I'll pass it off to Edgar here.
Hey, my name is Edgar Rodriguez. I'm a certified business coach with Action Coach, and just making an impact in our community, and really love the podcast because we have really good guests that share their insight and their love of their business.
Cool, and I'm Dawn Elizabeth Stone. I am a commercial real estate agent, and I work with businesses and helping people as their business grows, helping the space grow as well.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Don. Thank you, everybody, for introducing yourselves. And Edgar has some awesome questions lined up, so I'll let him go ahead and jump right in there.
Yeah. So, Don, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your business?
Yeah. So I have been within real estate for many, many years. I don't know if I want to say it to date myself. However, I started back in 2006 with lending. I did mortgage lending, commercial lending, and I fell in love with the space, which I didn't expect, but I absolutely love helping people figure out the right place, the right numbers, making sure it all works, and strategically plan for the years to come. And I also started doing my own real estate investing. And so I got to see it from that aspect as well, being that landlord, dealing with all the bills, the repairs, or whatever ends up happening. And then during the pandemic, I had gotten my commercial real estate license. And so now I'm an agent helping from that angle and being able to just kind of see the whole project, see what's going on, and really help to plan with different business owners.
Nice. So, you being in the real estate industry, what was the passion behind this is it, this is what I want to do?
Well, maybe the catalyst was reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm going to have to blame that because I read that right after college. I had my whole path planned. And I was like, I have to get into real estate. This is just a place for me. And when I got into it, I realized how much I loved it. And it just took off from there.
Yeah, I think that's one of those like necessary books to read. So what's funny is, I read that while I was in the real estate industry, and I was like, why didn't I read this earlier? So exactly. That's like a requirement.
Yeah, definitely a really, really good book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, just across the board, gives you that mindset in business and how real estate can be leveraged big time. Now, for you, Don, what's been the biggest learning curve since you started, business in general?
So I think the biggest learning curve for me has really been to make sure that you trust but verify, because I've worked on so many deals from different angles and helped out different people where you have to make sure that everything is lined and everything is in place. And while I say that's probably my biggest learning curve, a portion of that also has to do with building the right team that does the same thing, so that it's not just you trying to be everywhere at all times, but having a team of people who can trust but will verify, who don't want to get lazy. They check out what's going on. And that has been one of my biggest learning curves, because anytime something goes wrong, it's because I or one of my team members forgot to verify something.
Yeah, verification is so important. I tell new agents this all the time. I'm like, if somebody's offended that you're asking to verify something, there could be some good reasons that they're offended. Maybe one of those reasons is they don't trust you as the agent. But sometimes you got to remind them, hey, there's people in this transaction involved that aren't me, that don't know you. And like, I might trust you, but that other person on the other side of the transaction doesn't, right? So yeah, super important.
And now that you've been in the industry for quite a while, Don, what advice would you give 20-year-old Don who is just getting into business?
Probably don't overthink it.
Mm.
That's something that I catch myself still doing, but that's something I did a lot in the past, especially when I moved into more the investing side. I would think things, and I would try to reanalyze and every little thing, try to make it perfect. And I realized that I probably could have gotten so much further if I jumped. You're right. The net will be there once you jump. And so just say yes, make and figure out a way afterwards is what I probably tell myself from way back when.
Yeah, and I think that's really good advice, right? Because we do tend to overthink things as time progresses. But as we get older and we get wiser in business, it's, hey, just pull the trigger, get things done. We can figure things out on the fly, or not figure it out on the fly, but we can rely on our resources, right, our network, to find those subject matter experts. Say, hey, have you been through this? And what was the outcome? That way, it shortens your learning curve in doing so. So I think that's
Yeah.
really good advice.
Yeah, you got to take risks. You got to fail faster and learn sooner, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you feel, Don, is one thing that your business has done that you didn't expect for it to do?
Well, I would say basically take the path it's taken, because when I was in the lending space, I pretty much thought that's where I'd be forever. And then I moved into investing and I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to be forever. Right. And so I do a little bit of some different areas. And now that I'm in, on the real estate side, I'm loving this space as well. And so just being able to learn from all different angles and stepping into multiple roles, I don't think I ever expected that to happen for me personally. And so it just helps. I think it just helps me out to be able to see strategically, to be able to help plan for businesses that I have done all that. I just never thought that would actually be the path I took.
Yeah, and I think that's great. In business, we call it market research, when you're looking at all the other angles of what real estate does, right? When you're looking at the lending side, you're looking at the investing side, and now the real estate side, which allows you to be that subject matter expert, because you could put yourself in that client's shoes and say, hey, look, I've been in all these positions and I have the knowledge and experience that allows me, to give you the advice that you're seeking. So I think that's really good, that you've taken that path. And it's crazy because life in business is a journey, and we got to embrace that journey and learn along the way. Because in business, or even if you've got a regular 9 to 5, you're trading your time for money, right? And the key in that is the knowledge we're taking in, and that's what we can apply towards business, right? So, in your journey, what's been some of the challenges that you faced in your role, and how have you tackled those challenges?
Oh man, I don't know if this is a long enough podcast for this.
We got a little time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I would say one of my biggest challenges, like I said, as I would tell myself, is that idea of, just do it, don't overthink it. And that's still a challenge that I have to be aware of. And it's not so much, I know my industry and I know all those aspects of it. It's more about around, building client base and those other, marketing, those ancillary things that get me where, my profession takes me, that I still overthink. And so I that's one of my challenges, that I'm always constantly like jumping on and making sure that I just kind of yell at myself and make myself do what needs to be done, because I always kind of think, the time is going to pass either way, right? Whether you do it or you don't, and you're going to make it to the other side. So, just make that phone call, or just go to that event, or do what you need to do to make it happen.
Yeah. Which, that's good, because we do have those doubts, right? And things that we know we need to do, but we just have to push through them. So that leads
Yeah.
right into my next question is, how do you push through those barriers, right? How do you push through those business doubts to get to the other side?
One kind of dorky thing is that I look at my goals for the year, I look at where I'm at and where I'm going, and it always reminds me that this needs to happen to move forward. And
Mm,
so if I want to get to where I want to be at the end of the year, either financially or client base or whatever that might be, I need to make sure that I take that step. Otherwise, I'm not going to hit that goal, or I'm going to be trying to catch up at the end of the year. And Davin, as you know, right at the end of the year, nothing happens. So you need things to happen way earlier than December in order to hit those goals that you have for December. So that's one of the biggest things for me.
Oh
I
yeah,
love
I
that.
can't tell you like in real estate how many people I talk to. I'm like, your January and February and March pipeline is built in December. It's like, you do all this work and you see no results, and then all of a sudden in January you get 10 phone calls in one day, and you're like, okay, I just opened more business in one day than I opened in the rest of the last 6 months. So
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah, it's part of it. Yeah, people have New Year's resolutions too, and if you don't hit it, you don't get the business.
yeah, and I think that's really really critical, and that's gold right there. What you shared, Don, is having goals, right? Are they written out? And are we setting smart goals? Are we accomplishing them? And if we're not, then what do we need to do? What type of adjustments do we need to make sure we're on task? And I think that's critical in any business. Is if we're not setting goals and evaluating them consistently, we're never going to accomplish them, right? And how do you get to, why did we get into business? In knowing like what is the end goal, what is the outcome of what I want to do, and that right there, I think is one of the most important things is setting up those goals and just doing them, right? And that's what helps with pushing through those barriers. So, now that we're getting out of COVID, Don, along this entrepreneurship journey, what have you personally learned about yourself?
Hmm. That it, I would say that you have to trust my instincts is one of the biggest ones. I don't know if without COVID, I would have decided to go the route of getting my license in real estate. And so during COVID, I just, I started thinking a lot about real estate and how I wasn't in it a lot because of COVID and how I missed it. And I really wanted to get back into it with a bang and just really enjoy it. And so I think that was a big one, is to really just trust that instinct that sometimes you have to pivot. Sometimes you need to change your path, um, for what's best. And a lot of times I think entrepreneurs hang on to that too long, where
Mm,
you wait an extra year, 2 years, 3 years, and then you think, why did I wait so long? Right? Like the moment you're starting to feel that instinct, I think you need to jump on it. And that's something I learned that it was scary to do, but I realized that it was so necessary, and I'm glad I did it. And I feel like I can make that decision faster down the road if need be.
yeah, that's really good, right? Is when you got to make those decisions, having a trusted advisory board to say, hey, here's some ideas. What do you guys think? Right? And bouncing ideas off successful people that have already done it and surrounding yourself around those like-minded people is what's going to push you to break some of those barriers you just talked about.
Yeah.
With that being said, who are some of the most influential people in your life and how have they impacted you?
Um, I believe a lot of the most influential people in my life are really people that I admire more from afar. I may have
Mhm.
met them, but they're more like one, for example, like Sarah Blakely, who is the head of Spanx. Her
Yeah.
journey and the path she took at the beginning is just amazing to me. And
Mhm.
hearing stories like that and constantly looking at biographies and eventually I do get to meet some of the people in person, and I love that they're the same person I feel that they are, from the start to the finish, or not finish, but where they are now. So to
Mhm.
me, a lot of the people that have really impacted me are those that are are on the path, like fast forward myself, right? 10, 15 years where, I want to be in my business.
Yeah, and I think having those influential people in our lives, right? Like Sarah Blake's a good example. Her journey was not easy, but she persevered, she pursued, and look at where she's at now.
Mm-hmm.
So with having those type of influential people, right? And for us, it could be a array of different people. Is really good because it starts to allow you to see, okay, if they did it, I can do it, right?
Yeah, we all got 24 hours in a day, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Now,
yeah.
one of my favorite questions to ask, Don, is if you could start another business tomorrow, what would that look like?
It's so sad, but I love what I do, so it's hard to say. But I would say that I like helping people. So something along the lines that would help others, help better their lives, help better their career, something along those lines. I couldn't say specifically what that would look like, but if I had to like stop what I was doing and start over 100%, it would look for something where I could help people grow and help them get better at what they need.
Yeah. I got a follow-up question on that one, Don. So like I get that question too once in a while as a real estate broker. They're like, what business should I be in, or what business would you be in? And I'm like, I love being in commercial real estate because I get to start a new business every month. Like I'm working with business owners who are doing something new or changing something, and I get to be my favorite part in their business for like that section, and then I get to do my favorite part all over again next month. So yeah, I don't know if you ever feel that way, but that's kind of my answer. So
yeah, I do like inserting myself into their business for a portion of time, and I learn about what they do and how that works, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That goes for any business, right? Is we're in the people business, and we get to build some incredible relationships through what we do. And at the end of the day, it's how can we help them? The value that we provide in our expertise is to deliver a product or service to them. And this is one of the reasons I really, really enjoy this podcast, is because we get to share our passion for business, which always leads to people, right? We're in the relationship business, and they buy from you, or they come do business with you because they know you, they like you, they trust you. And it's because you are being genuine. You have that knowledge and passion to, hey, I want to make a difference. I want to make an impact. And I've seen, us network together, and just viewing the room from afar, taking a step back and just watching magic happen in those connections is truly an incredible thing. Don, what makes you feel inspired?
Honestly, knowing that I can help a business grow and get what they need. I absolutely love it. One thing I tend to get the question of, the real estate within real estate is the residential versus commercial. People are like, oh, you sell homes? I'm like, no, like I love helping those businesses grow and, helping them plan for their future as they're hiring more people or they're expanding across the United States, whatever it is. Like that is a huge passion for me. And a lot of times it's funny because I get so excited for the business that I'm like, go, 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 go. And they're like, hold on, we need to slow down. We need to step back a second. Right. I'm like, let's do this. And so as soon as you flip that switch for me with the business, it's like I'm off and running because I'm so excited for their business and I can just see that future for them.
Yeah.
No, that's a good way to do it because you don't want the business owner waiting on you, right? Like you want them to be the one, thinking and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to be like, what is my agent doing right now? That's a good sign right there. Yeah.
So you've been in the real estate business quite a while. How does your business look different now versus when it first started?
Well, a couple things. One, just a different space or a different angle coming at each of the deals. And also too, just that knowledge base. I started off literally knowing nothing, and I would just read through documents and just try to figure out what words meant and what things were. And that's when it was one of my biggest things, and why I think, I overthink things, because like when I don't know it, I feel like I have to know everything. And so my knowledge base, I believe, is one of the biggest changes, just because I'm constantly learning about it, and I'm always learning more. And even if it's not information I'm going to utilize, I like to have that information to just be ready to pull from my arsenal if I needed to.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, right? Is we gotta keep feeding our brains knowledge. And one thing that I personally like to do is every single month I like to read a new book. And that's been something that I've implemented for the last 4 years, just to learn about the different levels of business, the different industries that are out there. And then it was building those relationships around those subject matter experts. So I didn't have to know everything, but I knew enough, just enough to have the conversation with them. And surrounding myself with like-minded people like yourself, like Davin. You guys are the subject matter experts in real estate. I know enough, but I don't want to know it all. And that's one of the critical components, right? Is you're helping your clients, like you talked about earlier, is you're getting involved with their business because you're trying to understand the big puzzle piece, and within the network, which puzzle piece fits, right? To help them in the best possible way. Which actually leads to my next question with, what do you feel is most misunderstood about your industry?
Well, the first one that comes to mind, I'm sure there's something else, but the first one that comes to mind is that for commercial real estate agent, what that actually means. Most people do think a house or think what they're used to. They don't realize that it's the grocery store that they go to, or the gym that they work out at, or their office building, or anything like that. They just don't really place that as anything different than a house. And so sometimes it's an educational element for that, just to kind of help people understand that difference and what it's utilized for.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, because every industry has that different misunderstanding. What are you most excited about in 2023 with your business?
Just some more growth that, like I said, planning out goals and things like that, and looking into how our industry is adjusting right now, and what's kind of going on in the market. And so I've been really working with business owners who are growing their business, and whether they're leasing, they're buying, as well as investors in that space who are also buying. And moving into this year, I'm actually excited because I'm really looking more towards a bunch of listings. I've already gotten some landlords who need their space leased out, and just some people who are ready to sell. And so I think it's kind of a new, fresh market for that space. And it's always up and down, no matter where you're at, right? And so following that curve and following that change in the market, and just growing your business where the market takes you.
Yeah, and I think that's good advice.
Yeah, Edgar, we got probably time for one more question, and then we'll kind of wrap up our outro a little bit.
Perfect. So, Don, what's one question we did not ask you that you wish we would have asked you?
How do we get a hold of Dawn Elizabeth Stone?
Yeah.
All right, good deal. How can we get in touch with you? Share all your socials and your phone number, social security number, whatever we got to do.
Right. So first is first, take a screenshot here. Look at how my name is spelled, because as soon as you put in Dawn Elizabeth with a Y, you will find me on any social media platform. Ideally, the best ones would be LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also, my email is quite long, but get ready to jot it down. Dawn Stone, CRE@gmail.com.
Good stuff. All right. So yeah, let's just kind of go around. We got a little bit more time than we normally have on our wrap up. So maybe take like a minute. What did you get out of this conversation? What did you get out of this podcast? Don, we'll have you go first, then Edgar, and then I'll wrap us up.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I always love talking about business and with like-minded people. And so, just kind of gets me energized and refreshed. And I really appreciate that. So thank you guys.
Nice. Rock on.
Yeah, I think there was really, really good, valuable information. We went along the journey of business from building relationships to mentors, to people we surround ourselves with, in pushing through some barriers that we all face, right? But having those people around you and knowing that you can trust, like, hey, here's some of the things that I'm going through. Have you faced this and how did you push through it? Their advice sometimes might not be the best advice, but knowing that, hey, I can still bounce those ideas off of people just to help us push through those barriers, I think is some of the takeaways that I got out of today's conversation.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's always awesome talking to other great agents, because as someone who's trying to lead a team, I'm trying to get my new agents like on that level. And it's just that reminder. It's like, okay, they'll get there eventually. Like, it's one of those things that going from being a good agent to being a team leader is a different skill. And so it's always a good reminder just to kind of see like, okay, it's not something that's just like uniquely, something I created. It's things other agents are doing and we think alike, and people grow and they'll get there eventually. So it's just a good reminder really at the end of the day. All right. Yeah. I mean, we're kind of wrapping up almost maybe like a minute or two early, which isn't too big of a deal. Thank you for all of our viewers for watching. This was the Love of Business podcast, again, with our guest, Dawn Elizabeth Stone, our co-host, Edgar Rodriguez, and I'm your co-host, Davin Sundvik. We'll see you next time.